Have an interesting problem on the board here today. We have x to the fourth plus 1 over x to the fourth equals 194. And we're asked to solve for x plus 1 over x. And the first thing I want to notice here is this is kind of the opposite of the situation we usually get. In a problem like this, typically we're given x plus 1 over x equals whatever, and then we're asked to solve for the higher power. And so we're kind of doing this problem in reverse. So what I want to do is, to make it familiar with that other kind of problem that I'm used to solving, I'm going to set this equal to a. And then what we can do is then we can just go about squaring both sides. So if we take this, our a, and if we square it, we square this, we end up with, well, let's just distribute it out the long way. So just distributing, we're going to have x squared plus x times 1 over x plus 1 over x times x plus 1 over x squared. And then you'll notice when you multiply an x times 1 over x, this is just 1, this is just 1. So we end up with x squared plus 1 over x squared plus 2. Next, let's subtract 2 from both sides of this so that we end up with x squared plus 1 over x squared equals a squared minus 2. Okay, so now we have an expression for the squared reciprocal, whatever you want to call this thing. Now if we just square this again, we'll write this out. So let's do the left side first. If we square this out, we end up with x to the fourth plus x squared times 1 over x squared plus 1 over x squared, x squared. I have a frog in my throat, but we'll keep going. Then we'll just simplify this a little bit. Again, this is a 1 and this is a 1, so we end up with x to the fourth plus 1 over x to the fourth plus 2. Now let's square this right side. Okay, we'll get a to the fourth minus 4a squared plus 4. But that's not quite what we want. We want to isolate this fourth term and get it and equate it to 194. So we'll subtract the 2 from both sides. And we're going to have a to the fourth minus 4a squared plus 2. Okay, now I'm going to clean up the board and see if I can get some more space. Okay, so on the last board we found this formula for our x to the fourth plus 1 over x to the fourth. And we're equating this to 194. Now let's take this and see if we can work with just this right here and manipulate it to solve for a. Because a is our goal, right? We want to find x plus 1 over x. So doing that, what I can do is subtract 194 from one side of the equation and get this all equal to 0. So it's more, so we have a polynomial. This is going to be a to the fourth minus 4a squared minus 192 equals 0. Now you might notice this is actually a quadratic now. If we just make a little substitution, we'll say, let's say y equals a squared. So then rewriting this, this will be y squared, this will be minus 4y, minus 192 equals 0. You might see where I'm going with it. So 192, that actually factors a bunch of different ways, but we can factor it as 16 times 12. We particularly want a negative, so for this to work, we're going to use minus 16 times 12. So this is going to factor nicely as y minus 16 times y plus 12 equals 0. Okay, so now you can see we're going to have 2 roots for y, minus 2 and 16. But remembering that y is a squared, y can never be negative. So we're going to reject this root and just look at 16. So we have 16 for y, but what we want to find is a. So then if a squared is 16, then taking the square root on both sides, the positive and negative square root, we can see that a equals plus or minus 4. So you can see our solution is just going to be plus or minus 4.